To open the settings screens, tap on Settings on the main Touch screen, and the available options are these. Well, the first one is Mode. We already know about it. It selects the working mode. The wait time, when using the Accept by Time or Hold to Accept mode, this setting allows you to set the duration of in tens of seconds of this countdown. Let's choose, for instance, Accept by Time. Now, when I press here, this countdown lasts for 1 second and a half. Let's change it to 5/10 of a second. And notice now how this countdown is faster. I will set again to the default value. And set the mode to Accept and Release, which is faster. Okay, the next setting is the waiting period after a click. This sets the time that in the Accept and Release mode the screen turns into gray and your additional touches are ignored. Let's set it to, for instance, to 15/10 of a second and see what happens. When I press and when I release my finger, notice how the duration of the gray screen is longer. During this time, remember, additional presses are just ignored. Well, I'm going to set up to again to 5, which is the default value. The next option is Enable Vibration. When using the Hold to Accept mode, if Enable Vibration is checked, then when the countdown is over, you will notice a slight vibration. The next option is Touch with 4 fingers to minimize. When this is enabled, you can touch the screen with your 4 fingers and this minimize is touch. But if I disable it and minimize is touch, now if I press with 4 fingers, this is ignored. You can always minimize, remember, is touch by pressing on 2 opposite corners of the screen. This cannot be disabled. Let's continue with the interface settings. You have here the enable scroll buttons, which is the default. If I disable it, notice how the scroll buttons here are disabled, are gone. The next option is called Simplify Scroll Buttons. It happens that some apps have a complex layout with multiple scrollable areas, which would lead to multiple scroll buttons on the screens. This proved to be confusing for some users, and therefore we added this option that when it's checked, is touch limits the number of scroll buttons up to 2 and tries to choose those that are more natural for the user. Let's see, for instance, what happens with WhatsApp. In WhatsApp, by default, you will notice this scroll button at the bottom. If I press it, it goes down. Now the scroll button is here, and if I press it, it scrolls up. That's fine. But if I disable this option and I return again to WhatsApp, notice how now I have two scroll buttons at the bottom. The first one, this, works like the previous button, but this one, if I press it, notice how move through these tabs here. So for most users, just simplify, just let it enable. But if you feel that your application lacks scroll buttons, you can try to disable it and see what happens. Let's continue. The next option is play sound on click. Well, just is touch when you click. Just play a sound, if brief sound, if this option is enabled. Hide bars. The bars are this crossbar in red. If I check this option, well, Ease Touch warns me about that. Well, the bars will be invisible, and well, that maybe that could be confusing. Okay, and now notice how no bars are present on the screen. In general, it's not recommended, but perhaps can be useful for some users. The next option, interface element size. In this option you can change the size of some elements on the screen, like scroll buttons and the menu button. Next are the action menu settings. Apart from the action menu we have seen before in previous sections, you can choose here two additional types of menus. The first one is none. That means to disable entirely the action menu. Well, we don't recommend this, but maybe in some cases could be useful. The big menu type is the one you already know. This is the default, and the dock menu shows this kind of menu that is attached to the border, to the side of the screen, and can be changed. Its position can be changed. You can move from the left to the right or to the top. Okay, and this kind of menu, the advantage is that it's always present and is generally it's faster. So it's intended perhaps to more advanced users. Let's choose again the big menu and continue in the next setting, which is available actions. From here you can choose which buttons are present on the action menu and enable and disable it individually. Here we can see that the buttons we already reviewed, and there are additional actions you might choose. The first one is the pinch. This action allows you to manually create pinch gestures. Pinch gestures, as you already maybe you know, are usually used to zoom in and out content. A gesture like this. The next actions are the scroll left, down, up, and right. Here, that offer the possibility to scroll in one of such directions directly from the menu. And the same for swipe. You have left, down, up, and right swipe. Finally, there is the minimize button location. Remember, when you minimize Ease Touch, it goes to this small button at the bottom left. But the position of this button could be changed. For instance, to the other side, or well, to different to these 4 different positions.